All right, well, Yahoo Finance's Jen Rogers interviewed Oregon Governor Kate Brown about coronavirus lockdowns and the ongoing violence in Portland. She started by asking about Oregon's long history of mail-in voting and Brown's concerns as other areas of the country tried to institute vote-by-mail systems on the fly.
I think my biggest concern is that many voters across the country will wait till the very last minute to post their ballot and put it in the mail. And in Oregon, and I would say for the rest of the states, it's literally too late to vote by mail. And so want to encourage voters to use local drop boxes to take their ballot directly to their elections office. That's something Oregon's had decades to plan and prepare for. We've been working hard at making sure that Oregonians get their ballots in the mail on time. And we provide ample opportunity for voters to drop their ballots in drop boxes conveniently located in communities around the state.
So while this whole push right now is happening against the backdrop of the pandemic, as with many things we're seeing change, I think people think this is now here to stay. Like people are going to do this and they're going to like it. So as other governors are trying to institute vote by mail and having challenges, but realizing that this isn't just a one-time deal, what's the advice that you're giving them on how to make it work?
Well, the good news about vote by mail or vote at home is that voters love it. Oregon consistently has one of the highest voter turnouts in the country. It's extremely convenient and accessible. You can sit around your kitchen table with your kids and have a conversation about the electoral process. Number two, it's a paper ballot. And that's really important with what happened during the 2016 election, where we had concerns of foreign interference in terms of the outcome of the election. A paper ballot is verifiable. You can recount the ballot and get you can get a very secure result. The other piece is we're in the midst of a global pandemic, and we're seeing so many Americans participate in vote by mail because it is safe. You don't have to put your health or your life at risk to participate. But I think what governors are going to see is that we're going to see greater participation amongst Americans because it's so convenient and accessible. And that's a really good thing. Voting is truly the pillar of our democracy. And when the fabric of our society is so frayed, it is so key that the foundation of our democracy remains strong.
Where do you think voting goes from here? So you brought up paper ballots, and Oregon has been ahead of the curve overall in vote by mail. I have this very powerful device that I carry everywhere with me, my phone. And you think, well, why can't I just vote on my phone? I mean, do you see a time when we can get rid of paper ballots, or is it just the best way to go and we're going to be stuck with them?
That's a great question. If you'd asked me in my first term as Secretary of State, would have said yes. We're likely to go to electronic voting, and there are still ways to make that happen. We want to make sure that our members of the military serving overseas can vote, that Oregonians living overseas can participate and have their voice be heard. But I think for right now, a paper ballot is tested and true. As I said, you can replicate and verify the results. I literally won my first election for the state house by 7 votes, and I was able to watch the outcome, watch them do the recount, and I think that's really important in this day and age. So I think we're going to stay paper. It's safe, it's secure, it's really cost effective, and frankly, it's very efficient. So I'm hoping other governors and other states will enjoy the experience this time around and look forward to voting by mail in the future. But I have to say this, one of the things about vote by mail is that sometimes it takes longer to actually count all the ballots. And I'm a firm believer in making sure that every single ballot must be counted. And so I would just encourage Americans to be patient. It's more important that the vote count be accurate than be quick. So it may take a few days, it may take up to a week, But again, accuracy is much more important this time around. The other thing is folks need to have a plan. If you received your absentee ballot or your vote by mail ballot and you haven't turned it in yet, you got to have a plan to get it in. And if you're going to the polling place to vote, make sure you have a plan. We want to make sure that your voice is heard and that every vote gets counted.
So once every vote's counted, eventually we're going to be in a post-election period, which is hard to believe because we've been in an election period for what seems like an endless election. You have dealt just in the last 6 months with there's been a lot of violence in your state between activists for social justice, conservative forces, white supremacists, Antifa. How are you preparing for the post-election period right now?
And Jen, in addition to the social unrest, we've seen Oregonians issue a clarion call for racial justice, which I am joining in. We had a very destructive wildfires over Labor Day weekend, and then obviously we have the pandemic. We are working hard. We're coordinating with our law enforcement and our local communities to make sure that people can peacefully exercise their First Amendment rights to free speech following the election, and that everyone can stay safe. And so I'm working collaboratively and collectively with local elected officials to ensure that everyone can participate and everyone can stay safe. Violence, as you know, solves nothing, answers nothing. Violence against other human beings and, of course, against property is absolutely unacceptable.
And just to end here, you have extended the emergency order for Oregon on COVID until January 2021, and there have been quite a reaction from different corners of the state. How are you dealing with that? And I'm just curious, do you have any concerns for your own safety, the reaction elevating up to the level of what we've seen in Michigan?
Well, I think it's really unfortunate that we have a federal administration that is seeking to divide us and politicize what is a global pandemic. And we also have a president, frankly, who is inciting violence and hatred towards others. Again, absolutely and completely unacceptable. I think what's most important is that we are focused on keeping people safe. And that's my role as governor, is to protect Oregonians, to make sure that they can stay safe and healthy. And that, certainly we're working hard at getting our kids back into the classroom. They've been doing comprehensive distance learning. That's really challenging, particularly for our little kids, our kindergartners and our first graders. So my focus is on how can we slow the transmission of the virus and how can we keep people safe and healthy. And I wish we had a federal administration that was focused on those goals as well.